Alright, so I like to lead like kind of a open discussion type forum here. How did that video make you feel? Pissed? Any other feelings? No?
How can you shoot children?
What's that?
How can you shoot children for no reason?
It happens. It is an unlawful order, you know, to kill civilians. Unfortunately, you know, in situations like that, you know, that does happen. So, anyone have any questions about the video? You can watch the rest of this online. It's called Collateral Murder. It was leaked by Bradley Manning. I don't know if any of you have actually heard of him, but I just wanted to do a couple of statistics here. There's a lot of things that people don't talk about with the military. What's that?
The guy who told us in jail.
Right. He's in jail for, I believe, 35 years. That was his sentence. The two that were shooting out of the Apache helicopter, I believe they didn't get court-martialed for anything. Statistics, as far as veterans go, when you get out, right now, this is an underreported statistic. 22 veterans actually commit suicide per day. That's roughly one every 65 minutes. Again, that's underreported. We don't have enough stats to prove that it's probably higher. Homelessness is fairly high with veterans. I believe it's about 30% of, on the streets at any given night, 30% of all homeless are actually a veteran of some war. Again, that's an underreported statistic. Anyone have any questions before I move on here? I'd like to talk about well, first, I'll go with my personal stories. My name's John. When I joined the Army, active duty, I was explosive ordnance disposal, bomb tech, and then I switched to military intelligence later on. So my experiences are directly from Army, active duty. I can't really speak from Marines or Navy. I know a little bit about the Air Force. That's only because I dated a woman who was in the Air Force. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. Basically, the way that recruiters will come to you. Have any of you been approached by recruiters? Pretty much all of you? Okay. What were some of the things that they promised you? It's not fun. Depression. You will always have depression if you get it. It's something that doesn't go away. I have it myself. I have severe depression. I wasn't actually diagnosed with PTSD because I asked them specifically not to put it on my record. There's a lot of jobs you can't get if you have PTSD. You can't own rifles, guns, for instance, either. That's something that, you know, I use this this is my therapy, basically. Talking to you guys, explaining what I've been through. Does anyone have any questions before I go on? Good.
So based on your personal experience and in general, you know, about the military, are you like more towards like you happy that you joined, or it's more like you regret it?
I kind of struggle with that. I've made some connections with people in the military that, you know, I'll have them for the rest of my life. But as far as like regretting, I mean, I do regret, you know, some of those years of my life that I lost. Just the mental aspect of, you know, that they don't want to talk about, you know, you had nightmares about stuff. Talking about friends, yeah, it's not something I wish upon anyone. That's why I talk. Anyone else have any questions? Yep.
So like everything that on the commercials, they just like advertise that's pretty much they care about, or they give like no benefits because like that you see like housing and everything.
I mean, yeah, there's, okay. Sure, you get college, for instance, if you qualify for it. If you actually do your enlistment, if you don't get an other than honorable or dishonorable, sure, you'll get that. A lot of times they are actually kicking people out based on like PTSD, for instance. The guy might get PTSD, or excuse me, PTS, I believe they dropped the D now. And they're kicking them out, giving them bad discharges. Like if your command doesn't like you, for instance, that's kind of a big thing. If they don't like you, they'll make your life hell. I mean, literally, they'll make your life hell. I've had a couple of units. No, I'm not trying to say that all of them are bad. I've had some good men, you know, in positions of power. But the advertisements, it's a bit over the top. I mean, their advertising budget is roughly 400 million, I believe. So they have a lot of leeway to you know, attract you. And I will tell you that recruiters do get paid for talking to them. They get a monthly stipend, actually, to wine and dine you, take you out, be your friend, type stuff. They also get money when you graduate basic. They also get money when you graduate AIT, advanced individual training. So if anyone tells you that they're not making any money, they're lying to you about it. So,
Jim,
yep.
could you talk about basic training? Because like in the video, the way that they're talking about the people as they're doing what they were doing, you know, that came from somewhere. Certainly they didn't start out thinking that way or talking
Right,
that way. So
right.
what happened?
There's a general, for those of you that don't know, they break you down, right? They break you down and try to build you back up into how they want you. As far as basic training goes, I mean, I had a friend die at basic training on the very first day. The guy worked from me, Andrew J. Wise. He died from cardiac arrest, brought on by like lack of water. They weren't allowing us to drink. It was what you call a shark attack. It's where all the drill sergeants converge on you and, you know, make you work your ass off. We were front rucksacking our duffel bags. He collapsed. The drill sergeant didn't believe that there was a problem. He just thought he was being a pussy. He was like, you know, get up. He was like, get up. You know, he was clenching his heart. He waited too long, and he went unconscious. They couldn't resuscitate him. They tried twice, and that was that. They had to do the final salute. The very next day, one of my drill sergeants told us, "Okay, I know this is, you know, hard for everyone. Here's your friend, and you know you're dealing with this." He's like, "But you got a job to do." He's like, "You know, suck it up and drive on," because that's the mentality. You know, the machine has to keep going afterwards. Basic training is basically like they're trying to get that rage out of you. You know, there's a lot of cadences. I'm sure you all know what those are, right? There's a lot of cadences, you know, where it's ferocious, you know, like kill mentality. I remember there was a point where we had bayonets, M16s, were like stabbing mannequins. For what reason, I don't know. We don't use bayonets anymore. That's like World War II era. But it's that general mentality of trying to get you to be okay with killing another person, which I know that's the job. You know, like infantry, for instance, your job is to kick in doors and to kill enemies. The problem is when you lose your humanity, like in the video. If you dehumanize an entire race of people, or just people in general, what's the point? What's the point of, you know, being an American if you're just going to sit there and, you know, follow unlawful orders? You really need to think about whether it's right for you to kill that person or not, because you're going to have to live with it the rest of your life. I mean, that's nothing to take lightly. So, anyone have any questions before I move on?
John, you have about 6 minutes.
6 minutes? All right. Suicide actually gets worse as you get older with age. The problem is the VA, Veterans Affairs, what takes care of you, the health aspect, they're pretty understaffed. They don't have enough money allocated via Congress. So a lot of these guys, you know, they're waiting months to get in for treatment. It can be anything from, back problems to, post-traumatic stress. As you get older, the rate of suicide actually increases roughly 69% of age 50 or older actually have committed suicide. That's the general statistic there. A lot of these, like I said, are underreported. Not everyone's gonna come forward. We're not gonna have those links to actually prove a lot of these things. But these are the numbers that I got directly from the VA.
Is that all vets or vets suffering from post-traumatic stress or?
That is, I believe that's combat stress, people who have been in combat roles. VA is, like I said, it's really bad. I myself have had to wait months before for physical therapy. I'm a little better now. My right rotator cuff and my knees and my lower back. So I don't actually go to the VA because I like to, hope that someone else gets that spot and that they get the treatment that they need. As soon as you get out of the military, though, it's pretty much, if you don't have a plan, if you're not thinking about your future, then you're doing something wrong. You need to think about your future. You can't just assume that you're going to be in the military your entire life. A lot of these guys will, your age will actually go in. They'll go in as, something like infantry. How does that translate into civilian terms? That's what you need to think about. Because, being a door kicker, or like my job, you need one of a couple things that I can actually do as far as like private contracting and like SWAT team or, blowing up quarries. So you need to really be serious about if this is what you want to do. Anyone else have any questions? No questions, Ryan?
This is just your point of view and how you saw it and how you felt about it.
What's that?
This is how you saw it and how you felt about it. I mean, there could be other people that see it differently than you.
Do other people perceive it differently? Is
Yeah.
that- Yeah, there's, it's pretty much like it's like a rainbow. There's so many different perspectives because we all come from different walks of life. Different backgrounds exactly. There are a lot of people that obviously support the military and what we're doing. What you got to remember is, why did we invade Iraq? Does anyone even remember? 9/11? Anyone else?
That's supposed to be WMDs.
Exactly, WMDs. That's the reason why we invaded. How many did we find? 0? Right. We didn't find any. They lied about it. So why should we be going to war repeatedly, based on a lie? I'm sorry, but anything that comes after that doesn't matter, because a lie is a lie, right? We're supposed to be about integrity, right? It's not very integrity. So basically, they went to war on a lie. I can tell you, I've actually seen the intelligence reports for it, and there were no WMDs. I know that for a fact. I know a lot of people like to talk about the sarin gas canisters. A lot of people like to say, well, they had this. Those were actually, I believe, pre-Desert Storm, if I'm not mistaken. Anyone else have any questions about anything? Yeah.
Did you go to college after the military or?
No, I actually went to college prior. I made the conscious decision. I always knew I was going to join the military at some point in my life. I made the decision that I was going to go to college first, see if I can, do that. I did that. I did, IT, multimedia, and I kind of got burned out on it. And I was like, I was working at like GameStop as a manager, and I was just like, I'm kind of sick of being around here, so I didn't really think about it. I went into it. I took the quick shift bonus back when they were actually giving bonuses, and I left like within 2 weeks of actually signing. So I didn't actually do the delayed entry program. And pretty much what I was doing. Anyone else have any questions? Nobody? Yeah.
What do you do now?
What do I do now? I actually do IT work. I feel pretty good. I fix computers, I fix smartphone glass. I actually make movie props for different things, costuming. It's kind of weird, the transitioning of, you know, like military life to that, but it's very calming, you know, it's creative. I like art, you know, so that's what I'm doing right now. Any other questions before we wrap up?
All right, so what I got here, I'm actually gonna pass this out real quick. It's the IAT Soldier's Handbook. So what you'll get a basic training. It's everything that you have to actually learn before the end of it. I'll hand that to you. Yeah, you can look through it. This right here is actually it's like the yearbook for basic training after you finish. Just be careful with this one because the binding's kind of old. Now, we were actually going to show a video, but because we're kind of strapped for time right now, how many of you have actually seen the Collateral Murder video? It was leaked by Private Bradley Manning. Anyone remember that?
I've heard of it. I never saw the video.
You've heard of it?
I heard the guy.
Right. If you Google it, go to YouTube, you can actually watch the whole thing. It's basically of Iraqi civilians being killed in Iraq unlawfully by Apache helicopters. They're mistaken for having weapons. What I'm here today is actually to give you some statistics. You might not actually hear this. What I do is I go to high schools. We generally talk about the things that recruiters aren't going to actually tell you. Like for instance, in 2010, for instance, 1 in 10 veterans with disabilities were actually not employed. There's a lot of statistics out there that you probably never heard about. Suicide rates for vets, it's roughly 22 veterans actually commit suicide per day. That's roughly 1 every 65 minutes. These are underreported as well, meaning we don't have enough statistics to actually prove that they're probably higher. 30% of all veterans have actually considered suicide. And the reason I'm bringing this stuff up is because depression is pretty rampant in the military. Mental health is kind of a joke. You go to your command, generally speaking, though, a lot of these units will actually ostracize you. They'll kind of shun you out from the rest of the group because mental health's not really, it's not efficient. I've been in times where I was waiting in the waiting room for like over an hour just to see somebody. I was overprescribed medications for various things. At one point I was actually, I had 30 different medications that I was on. Anxiety, antidepressants, what else? Muscle relaxers, all kinds of different stuff to counteract the other medications. Mental health is, it's something not to joke with. Depression will always be with you if you've ever had it before. You'll never get rid of it. Suicide rate is incredibly high for veterans after you get out. I myself have actually lost friends due to suicide based on things that they've experienced in the military. Why I do this is because I want you to make an actual conscious decision on what you're doing for the rest of your life. It's a huge step. Don't take it lightly. I mean, you may be going for college tuition. You might be going because you want to serve your country. There's plenty of ways you can actually serve your country without picking up a rifle. So I just want you to be aware of that. As far as the college actually plays out, you do actually pay into your college. You pay roughly $100 per month for 12 months. So that's $1,200. That's non-refundable. So after you pay that, it's gone. If you get either an honorable or a dishonorable discharge for whatever reason, you will not get your college at all, and you won't get health care as well. Before I go on, anyone have any questions about anything? Any comments?
Why would someone get a less than honorable discharge?
You can get a less than honorable discharge for many things. Sometimes if the command doesn't actually like you, they could find ways to kick you out. I've seen guys get out on PTSD, get a dishonorable discharge
just based solely off the fact that, you know, his command didn't like him. If you rub them the wrong way, they'll make your life a living hell. They really will. They can dock your pay, cut your pay in half. They can take away like weekends and stuff. They can make you do extra duty. There's all this other stuff that they can do to you. They can smoke you, obviously, until you're pretty tired. But I also wanted to show you in your contract. It actually states laws and regulations that govern military personnel may change without notice to me. Such changes may affect my status, pay, allowances, benefits, and responsibilities as a member of the armed forces, regardless of the provisions of this enlistment/re-enlistment document. What that means is they can change your contract at any given point. They can take stuff away. They don't even have to tell you about it. Anyone have any questions before I continue? Anything? Yep.
That dictates where, like if I join the military, they could just do that, I don't know, or what?
Yes. Yes, they have the ability to change your contract.
At any given point.
Yes.
Is that for everybody?
Me personally, I'm speaking from Army active duty. I'm pretty sure it's across the board because I believe the contracts are pretty much written the same. They just change like the headers. I believe there's a question about.
They do tell you that when you ask.
Okay, they're telling now. Okay.
So that happened to you? They're like taking pay and everything from you?
I mean, I've gotten in, you know, small minor infractions before in the military where, you know, they've done, you know, a lesser version. Not talking about like, you know, major things. Just like, you know, getting in trouble for stupid shit. But anyone else have any questions about anything? Yep.
Is there a way like around that contract thing?
As far as I know, like they say when you sign up that your contract is golden, right? But that's your contract. But with this clause in there, you know, it's pretty much anything goes. I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm just telling you so that you are aware that it can happen. Yes.
So summary of that is basically if you just join the military, you sign a contract, and then if they don't like you, they can just take you out and just basically do all that to you.
Pretty much. I mean, it's not just they don't like you and then they can kick you out based on that they don't like you.
That's it's honorable discharge.
What's that?
That's what that, like, what would you say was that? It's honorable discharge.
No, this was the provision within your actual contract.
Oh.
I was speaking merely about if your command doesn't like you, for instance, they'll find a way. Let's say that you do something minor, they can blow it up to a certain proportion to make it seem like you're a really horrible person, which in case you might not be, and then just kick you out on that. Yep.
Doesn't the military have equal opportunity to
As far as equal opportunity, I believe they say that in the contract. Again, it's at the discretion of your commanders. So,
I know you can report stuff like that.
you can report. There's the chain of the command that you know about. You know, going through like your platoon sergeant and then upward to commander. A lot of the times though, these guys are pretty buddy with each other. So if you know the command as a whole doesn't like you, you know, going up that step further is going to be a lot harder.
I know they have the open door policy.
Yep.
So you
Yep.
can do that.
They do have open door policy, but again, it all depends on the people, because after all, these are just human beings, right? We all have our faults. Some people are actually racist. I've been in units before where, in the South, when I was at a station in Alabama, there was an entire unit, mostly black males, that for whatever reason they actually thought that I was just, you know, some white kid. I'm actually Native American, but they treated all the white folks as, you know, differently. They would like smoke us for no reason. They would, you know, do stuff like there was one point where I wasn't allowed to eat, for instance, for, you know, until they deemed when it was necessary. Just taking privileges away, you know, like moving mattresses up and down stairs for no reason, just because they wanted to. They wanted shits and giggles, laughs, you know. Again, I'm not saying that this is across the board. Just be aware that there are people like this. There's people in power that should not, you know, have no business being in power. Anyone else have any?
Talk about equal opportunity. You say something about sexual harassment?
Oh, yes. Sexual harassment is almost a daily occurrence. women in particular. 1 in 3 women actually get raped in the military. That's an underreported statistic. I don't really want to talk about that because, I don't know, I guess admitting a problem means that there is a problem. So, yep.
You also have a SHARP program, so I know that reduced it a lot.
The SHARP program?
SHARP.
I've never actually, do you remember what year that was instated?
I'm not sure. I don't know
Because this is back in like 2009, I got out, so
this.
they might have
Okay.
updated some
I
things.
think it was at least before that.
Okay. Yeah, it's, I know it still is a problem though.